Hi there. This is the 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan. As you're all aware, there once was a time when the best-selling product Volkswagen made was an odd-looking rear-engine two-door called the Beetle. These days, it's the Tiguan, which is a roomy, practical, family-oriented compact SUV. The question is, what makes the Tiguan so popular amongst Volkswagen fans? And also, if you are shopping for an SUV, should the Tiguan be one you consider? Let's find out. Volkswagen has been selling the Tiguan for 15 years. Seems like only yesterday. What was interesting was when the Tiguan came along in 2007, it brought a level of premiumness to a segment that really didn't have any. And the competition kind of had to up their game in terms of quality and features to compete against the Tiguan. In 2018, the second generation Tiguan came out. This one is actually a mid-cycle refresh for 2022, and this is a highly spec'd SEL model. Now, what does the Tiguan have to compete against? Sadly for it, almost everything, because compact SUVs have replaced mid-size family sedans as arguably the most important segment in the automotive kingdom. This sucker has to take on heavyweights like the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, the Ford Escape, the Chevy Equinox, the Hyundai Tucson, the Kia Sorento, the Subaru Forester, meaning Tiguan here really has its work cut out for it. Speaking of premium, check out the design of the front end of the Tiguan. Say what you want about SUVs, a little boring, a little dull, whatever. I mean, this is good work. This is good design. This makes it look more expensive than it is. If there is a negative, you might say, well, a relatively large grille with these massive secondary grills down here. It does scream internal combustion, and we are in the era when everything is going electric, and Volkswagen will soon be an EV-only company, so this might look a bit old school, to put it politely, but so what? I mean, this is good work. Love the headlights. Coming down the side, pretty generic right here, just kind of common SUV, although it has amazing tires, Pirelli Scorpion Zeros, which is unusual for a vehicle in this segment. Volkswagen, when they want to, they are the masters of folding metal. These two creases right here are so perfectly executed. So the radius, everything about them is great. And then this character line, it continues all the way back down, kind of splitting into two pieces, and it helps to break up the physical mass of a rather large vehicle. And these sills down here, they do the same thing. They kind of give it a tummy tuck. It looks really good. Coming out back, pretty generic. Overall, it's a very solid design, especially when we're talking about that front end. So I'm inside the Tiguan, and the number one thing I notice is how large this vehicle is, how roomy it is, therefore how practical it is, and by being bigger, it just feels more premium than the other vehicles it's competing against. It's massive in here. And Volkswagen's done a good job with the materials too. Everything's pretty much soft touch. You've got some nice looking wood, you've got some really cool shaped metal, and Fender branded speakers and stereo if you're into that sort of thing. There's some haptic nonsense going on with the HVAC controls. It's just fussy, especially when you're driving and you want to get a little hotter, a little cooler, like having to fidget down there with your finger. But still has a volume knob, still has a tuning knob, which is great because those are going away on other Volkswagen products. If you look at the ID.4, that's Volkswagen's EV, all touchscreen. As far as the touchscreen itself goes, it's okay. There's just not a lot of information, and this isn't Volkswagen's strong suit. Plus, it's a bit confusing too. There's no home button. There's a menu button, okay, but it's over here, which is a weird place for it. And then, I've got radio and radio. Why are the two things so very close together? Media. It's just laid out awkwardly. But let's get back to what the Tiguan does well. So spacious, so roomy in here. Great front row, excellent second row, miserable third row if you opt for that. This isn't a real 3-row, it's a 5+2, meaning in a pinch you could huck a couple of kids back there. Don't do that. If you really need a 3-row Volkswagen, get the Atlas. However, because this thing's so big, when you do fold the seats down, you have an enormous amount of cargo room. So remember, SUV, sport utility vehicle. Volkswagen is really emphasizing utility with the Tiguan. If you're looking for performance, look elsewhere. Not to pick on the Tiguan, but under this hood is a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine that in this application makes 184 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. You might say, well, those numbers aren't terrible, until you realize, hey, this is a pretty large compact SUV that weighs over 3,800 pounds. Even though it has an 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive, 0 to 60 is in the 8-second range. Handling, well, on these tires, anything will handle well, even a hefty Tiguan. Tons of grip, which again, you got to get the top spec to get this level of performance. But you're not buying a Tiguan for performance. No, you're shopping compact SUVs because you want to schlep your family around and you want to get good fuel economy while you're doing so. There's another problem. Fuel economy is middling. Actually, it's kind of like on the lower end of middling. 21 miles per gallon around town, 28 miles per gallon on the highway, and unlike the King Kong of the segment, the Toyota RAV4 and a couple others, there is no hybrid powertrain option. Another reason you might be shopping for a compact SUV is safety. Well, good news, the Tiguan here is very safe. This thing has a 5-star crash rating, and the 2021 version was a top safety pick, and we have no reason to believe that this one won't be just as safe, maybe even a little bit safer, because it has a whole bunch of active safety features. Everything from adaptive cruise control, to blind spot monitoring, to lane keeping, to automatic braking. How much? Not a lot. So you can get into a Tiguan for just over $27,000, and that'll of course be a base version. But what about if you have every single bell and whistle in a fully loaded SEL R-Line all-wheel drive model? Just under $38,000. How does that stack up to the competition? Quite well, actually. What you'll find is that all vehicles of this nature, they kind of start in the $26,000, $27,000 range, and you load them up with options and you get to about $37,000. The Tiguan is going to be a couple $100 more expensive, but you know, spaced out over the life of the loan, it's only a few bucks a month. If there's one thing I want you to know about the refreshed 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan, is that Volkswagen took a solid product and they made it better. Think about it, right? This is a good-looking SUV. It has a nice interior. The price is right. Yeah, there's no performance, but it's in a segment where nobody has any performance. Most importantly, this is a roomy SUV. It's bigger than the competition, and that might seem like a small thing, but pardon the pun, it's not. So, if you're in the market for a family SUV, look no further than the Volkswagen Tiguan. To see vehicle rankings and a complete buyer's guide, please visit motortrend.com/cars.